Climate change has 5 main challenges. The main sources of the majority of today's global greenhouse gas emissions are manufacturing at 31%, electricity 27%, agriculture 19%, transportation 16%, and buildings at 7%. Now, to get to zero, there's a need to tackle all 5 grand challenges right away. According to Bill Gates, the green premium is the additional cost of choosing a clean technology over one that emits a greater amount of greenhouse gases, and is one of the measures to promote to succeed in this endeavor. Right now, clean solutions are usually more expensive than high emission ones, in part because the true economic and environmental costs of existing energy options like fossil fuels are not factored in the price that we pay for them. Gates says that moving the immense energy economy from inputs and products that emit greenhouse gases to ones that don't will cost. However, with the right policies and focus, the green premium can be lowered so as to ultimately choose the clean alternative. Good evening. You're watching The Business Insider. I'm Ayman Salah. We'll be back. Welcome back. Let's start with the first news item. Europe laid out an ambitious blueprint for a sharply decarbonized future over the next 9 years, marking the start of what promises to be a difficult and bruising 2-year negotiation among industry, 27 countries, and the European Parliament. On Wednesday, a path to reduce emissions was set, promising tough haggling among 27 states, industry, and the European Parliament. The move puts Brussels in the forefront of the world's efforts to decarbonize and reach the goal of a carbon-neutral economy by 2050. The politically important move aims to force the issue by committing to reducing its emissions of greenhouse gases 55% by 2030 compared to 1990 levels. The European Union produces only about 8% of global carbon emissions, but it sees itself as an important regulatory power for the world and hopes to set an example, invent new technologies that it can sell, and provide new global standards that can lead to a carbon-neutral economy. U.S. oil prices hit their highest price, or U.S. oil hit their highest price in more than 2.5 years, as the International Energy Agency warned of an intensifying supply crunch as prospects of OPEC Plus agreed to raise supply just reached effect on Wednesday. WTI prices reached the highest level since 2018 at $75.25 per barrel. Brent, meanwhile, rose back above $76 per barrel for the first time since last week's OPEC Plus meeting, closing at $76.39 a barrel, up 1.6%. I have to note that these are Tuesday's prices, not today's prices, because today prices have gone down a little. The International Energy Agency warned from tightening oil supply, stating that prices would remain volatile until oil producers agree to raise production. And today we'll be updating you on where they have reached on this issue. Lockdown-era production curbs have helped to push the price of oil up more than 50% so far this year amid surging global demand. We'll be back here on Now TV International. You're watching The Business Insider. Coming up next, the green premium and hydrogen fuel. Stay with The Business Insider.
Meeting global climate goals and reaching net zero emissions by 2050 means transforming the entire physical economy, thus requiring an acceleration of the innovation pipeline at an unprecedented pace. Heavy investments now to bring down the costs of critical clean technologies is needed, with creative financing structures that will help them develop and deploy more quickly. The public and private sectors are working to provide a platform for rapidly commercializing emerging technologies through a creative, blended financing approach, targeting investments into clean technology projects to significantly decrease the price of new clean products, increase their availability in the market, and demonstrate how to finance the infrastructure of decarbonization at scale. The Green Premium allows blending financing facility to make available the large capital investment needed to bring down the cost of emerging technologies and help businesses negotiate agreements with suppliers by buying down any remaining extra cost associated with the clean product and for critical technologies for decarbonization: direct air capture, green hydrogen, long-duration energy storage, and sustainable aviation fuel. These are clean innovations that have already proven their potential at a small scale, but going commercial is still far away. Both private markets and public policy combined will bring them to scale so as to ensure that the next generation of critical climate technologies get to scale as quickly as possible. In order to rapidly commercialize green technologies, there is a need to create the right structure to incentivize investment from companies, individuals, and governments. There are many promising clean technologies that could do just that, like sustainable aviation fuel or green hydrogen, but they are still in early stages of development and deployment. As a result, these technologies are not receiving the investment needed to de-risk and commercialize them in order to drive down costs and make them competitive with existing fossil fuel-based technologies. Over the last several years, many companies and governments have committed to reaching net zero emissions by 2050. Aligning the private sector around this shared goal will be necessary to avoid the worst impacts of climate change.
Welcome back to the Business Insider. I'm Ayman Salah, and I have the pleasure to be hosting tonight Dr. Hussein Ghazzawy, an energy expert, as well as many other things, many other titles. But let's leave it at that. A pleasure to have you with us here on the show. Our topic tonight, hydrogen fuel and the green premium. But before we start, we mentioned that the OPEC Plus meeting, or the OPEC Plus members, need to reach an accord in order to safeguard the supply for the coming stage. And today, I believe, there is an update.
Yes, they have reached a compromise with the UAE on increasing production. And I think we'll know in the coming...
Between the UAE and Saudi Arabia.
Correct.
Right.
And we'll see in the probably coming few days more details on what compromise they have reached. It's good that OPEC and OPEC Plus to be aligned, because as it was mentioned in the report, the market is very volatile. Right. There is the economy reform is ongoing all over the world. However, the COVID Delta version probably is affecting in some countries, but definitely there is a volatility in the business and need to be alignment between OPEC and OPEC Plus.
Well, every couple of weeks we get a new variant that is being presented to us. Probably a good idea to get the vaccine for most people in order to get past this major challenge. All right, let me just go back a little bit. You've covered the agreement reached. We don't know much detail. This will be known in the days ahead. But let me go back to tonight's topic. There is something called a green premium. We have the 5 major challenges that I have mentioned in the introduction. There is something called the green premium, and the green premium is now scrutinized, and hydrogen fuel presents an alternative. Let's cover first the green premium and then the hydrogen fuel.
Okay. Actually, there are different colors for the hydrogen.
Right.
And if I start, we have the gray hydrogen, which it's producing right now without, when you produce, you get 75% of the hydrogen produced in the world coming from the natural gas, and the rest is coming from coal, probably 2%, which I will come to after. So it has a lot of CO2 emission. You don't capture this CO2, the carbon dioxide, so of course not good for the environment. So that's the gray, it's the gray hydrogen. Then you have the blue hydrogen. The blue hydrogen is the same. You still get it either from the natural gas or oil or coal, but there is a process, CCUS, carbon capture, utilization and storage, where you capture almost 90% of the CO2 emit with the process, and that's what they call the blue hydrogen. Then the green hydrogen, it's a totally different, because you extract the hydrogen from the water, and to do that you need electricity, and you use the electricity coming from the renewable, whether it's solar or wind, so there's zero carbon emission, and that's what we have, the green hydrogen. The green hydrogen, actually, it is the future. September last year, same description for the hydrogen apply to the ammonia, gray ammonia, blue and green ammonia. Ammonia is after extracting the hydrogen with the nitrogen from the atmosphere, you have the ammonia. Egypt produces ammonia, but currently gray ammonia, because we don't capture the CO2 through the process I mentioned. So September last year was the first blue ammonia, liquid blue ammonia shipment, 40 tons from Saudi to Japan. Japan, as you said, the European community have their plan. Also, Japan last year announced their plan to reach zero emission by 2050. So that's first blue ammonia shipment to basically power the coal-fed power generation or station in Japan. So Japan, Korea, China, the entire world is actually going through that, because we have to face it, we don't have option. Increasing the temperature, we talk about 1.5 to 2 degrees by 2050. If the whole world, we need to get together. And if you allow me, I think Egypt on that front, we are ahead of many countries.
Let me just highlight what's the significance of having 1.5 to 2 degrees centigrade raise in temperature. What will that do?
You will melt the ice in the North Pole. Right. Yeah, I mean, you change the whole. People underestimate that. You will have the water will raise in the ocean. We'll have cities disappearing.
Right.
So it is actually significant. People probably, thank you for asking question. 1.5 degrees to 2. No, it is. We talk about.
As if we're going to lower the temperature in the AC, and that will solve.
No, that's a lot of lives. Right. Will be lost. I mean, cities which we know now will no longer be, will disappear.
Right. So, economies will be destroyed.
Economy will be destroyed. We saw what happened with the virus, with the COVID. So. I mean, if we have all what happened, I mean, it will be a disaster, and we don't want that to.
So basically, we don't have an alternative.
No, we don't have an alternative, and I think the alignment and public government, we all need to understand that we don't have the alternative, and this is the life of the future generation, our sons, grandsons. It's very important. People has to believe in the chain. And actually, in what Europe is doing, and we said Asia, Egypt, we signed a few days ago agreement with ENI. Prior to that, a few weeks ago with Siemens. His Excellency, the President, asking to have a blueprint like the one for European community on the strategy of the green hydrogen for Egypt. We have an advantage in Egypt. When we talk about renewable, Egypt produces now up to 20% of what we need from the electricity, not of our total electricity capacity. We need about 28 gigawatt. We are producing now about
Around
6,200 megawatt or 6.2 gigawatt from solar. We know about Bimban, wind. So we have actually the opportunity.
But each opportunity has a cost.
Of course.
And this is what they call the green premium, which is the difference of the cost between producing green energy and the blue energy, if you will.
That's why there is very aggressive plan worldwide. Currently, we're talking the renewable from solar and wind, which use for the green premium. We talk about 210 gigawatt. 2030, this has to cross 1,050 gigawatt.
But there has to be the green premium. You're talking about financing, the difference, right? And there has to be an agreement, coordination, understanding between governments, public sector and private sector. Are we on track?
We have to be on track. We are not on track yet. The green premium is definitely associated now with a lot of cost. The carbon dioxide capturing and storage, that's a very complicated process. It is not happening everywhere. Also the storage of the green hydrogen, the world is learning. What happened last year between Saudi and Japan, it's a start with the blue ammonia to fuel their coal-fed power station. So we are learning. If we look 3-4 years ago when we were talking about the solar PV, the prices were expensive. Now the kilowatt per hour from the solar, very, very competitive compared to natural gas, and definitely it will go even less than that. So technology, the R&D, like Gates said, has to be a lot of investment and has to be a lot of alignment. And what look as an expensive or has a premium to us now, it's actually not, because at the long run it will save our planet, exactly.
But you have to provide low-cost funding opportunities.
True, and the country has the privilege to do that. They are doing that, and there is definitely a lot of regulations. I think that coming 10 years is very important for the entire world, because there is a lot of the policymakers are working on a lot of things to make that green premium as attractive as possible to encourage public to use it. When we talk about electrical car, we talk about 3 million cars worldwide right now. 2030 again, the benchmarks 2030, actually the objectives to 2050. But as I said earlier, the coming 10 years is very important. The electrical car will go from 3 million right now to over 50 million, almost 18 times more in the coming 10 years. So there is a lot of changes has to happen. Transition, exactly. The transformations, the transition. We talk about gray, blue, green. Saudi is building on the Red Sea coast and the new city, one of the biggest green hydrogen project in the world, should be up and running by 2024. $5 billion project. Egypt committed to invest $4 billion for all this coming green. It has to you cannot go from gray to green. Green, blue, gray, blue, and green. To have the plan how we're going to do it. And by the way, for the CO2, you can re-inject the CO2 back to the to help with the enhanced oil recovery. So when you have a declining oil field or gas field, you normally inject gas actually to get back the pressure. So actually you can do the CO2. I've been involved in experimental in UAE few years back, successful, taking the CO2 and re-inject it instead of injecting natural gas to the reservoir to increase the production.
It's a cycle.
It is a cycle.
It's a cycle.
It is a cycle.
If the EU produces 8% of global carbon emissions, the EU, then you have a major issue with the global carbon emissions.
Agreed. China.
Because you have China, you have the US, you have
India.
Those represent a huge chunk. What have they offered so far?
China is, and actually India as well, and US actually, they are among the top 5 countries when it comes to progress as far as renewable energy. The number in 2020, despite the fact of the COVID-19 story, the number of the gigawatt being added, whether to the coming from solar or wind in China and US in particular, it is definitely significant. So they are working towards that. I haven't seen, I'm sure.
Commitments?
No, there is a commitment, but I haven't seen a blueprint like the EU or Japan. Actually, I read Japan 2021 strategy when it comes to reaching by zero emission by 2050. I'm sure China and India and I definitely US will be on track. The entire world need to be on track. But your comment is valid. The big chunk lies in China, India and Asia, and definitely the US. That's where the focus need to be on the carbon emission. Africa, on the other hand, definitely have a
can sell their carbon footprint.
Actually,
they don't even produce.
They have the opportunity to start from the other finish. So I think all the coming project, because Africa, there is 580 million African needs electricity or don't have access to electricity, especially in the sub-Sahara, with the basically green projects where can learn from the others with less carbon dioxide emission compared to the developed and...
right, so basically what we're saying is, so far, fossil fuels, traditional fuels, blue energy is still cheaper than the green energy.
Pragmatic, cheaper, infrastructure use. I mean, that transition, the coming 30 years, that you need a significant infrastructure to change that. Actually, they are talking about blending the hydrogen with the natural gas for the household. So that's using the existing infrastructure of the natural gas with blending the hydrogen. So that's one of the options.
But that's still buildings. The contribution is around 7%,
correct,
which is still not the major factor.
Manufacture and electricity are the main one, and I have seen numbers that by 2050, electricity generated by wind and solar will be crossing 65%, and that's from 10% in 2021.
That will bring me to what would be a major catalyst to move into the green energy, because OPEC and OPEC Plus just reached an agreement, as you mentioned a while ago. When we last met a few months back, April, I believe.
Correct. Last year, yeah.
The barrel was minus
$37. Because he couldn't find place to store. Yeah.
Right? Today, you're talking $75 a barrel, plus or minus. Where are we heading?
As far as oil price concerned, I think we need to, there is an important notice the difference between the West Texas Intermediate and
WTI,
and
right.
WTI and Brent narrowed, talk about a couple of dollars, $1.50, and that didn't happen since November of last year. This is an indication that there is higher demand in the US, with more people vaccinated, economy start to kick in US is starting, and I think when it comes to the shale oil, all the investment, and I think US did fantastic when it comes to oil and gas production using all this new technology, hasn't started yet.
And it's costly.
It is costly. The actual,
you need a barrel, you need a price of over $60 a barrel in order to be economical?
It used to be 80, they dropped it to 60, to 50. With the current prices, you can make money, but to start the whole process again,
you need demand first.
Exactly, you need demand is coming, and it's not a switch. It takes easily 6 months to a year to start again. The volatility of the market also discouraging all this company to start again. So my humble belief that price will go up next year, could touch 100, and then we start the cycle again. The shale oil will start producing, and then we'll go to
the supply will increase. The demand will not be as at the current level, the balance between the supply and demand, so the price will decrease. So you're expecting by next year the barrel will reach $100?
Could touch $100 and will drop again in 2023.
Because we'll have more supply.
We'll have more supply,
demand,
yes.
So the price will go
Correct.
down again.
Correct.
Which will also mean that OPEC will meet and cut their production in order to raise the prices
I
again.
think we'll live with this cycle for exactly. I mean, OPEC.
Why would this encourage an adoption of greener technology?
The cost is the technology is not there yet. It is evolving, but it's still expensive to. If we talk about the green hydrogen, to use the electricity from the solar and winds, yes, it is available now at competitive price, but you need a lot of electricity to extract the hydrogen from the water, oxygen vent in the atmosphere, and it's not a greenhouse gases. It's safe. So the cost, it's still there. The cost, the convenience, and I think there is a lot of awareness to the public need to happen, and that's a part of the government anywhere. They need to basically enhance the awareness of the people. And there is part of what UE blueprint is investing in R&D to drop the cost.
The United Arab Emirates blueprint you're talking about?
No, sorry, European Community, EU. I'm sorry, okay. EU blueprint. I'm sure you have also blueprints
right.
when it comes to.
But when you're saying the price of the barrel of oil can hit 100 by next year, wouldn't that bring you closer to the cost of green energy? Thereby, there will be more demand for green rather than.
But you don't have
the
infrastructure to start.
Right.
Not yet.
Right.
The difference is still significant. Even with the $100, it's more convenience.
Because the infrastructure is already there.
Infrastructure is
For example, if you talk about a gas station, right, it's easier to go and put some gas in your car instead of looking for a station to put the socket in.
Correct. However, it is progressing. But I think the coming this decade will be very important for the entire world, and need a commitment from the government, from the public, need alignment with all stakeholders to reach this aggressive goal.
So where are we here in Egypt?
When it comes to renewable, as I mentioned, our objectives in 2022 to reach 20% of our electricity need, we made it a year ahead. By 2035, Egypt is aiming for 42% from the electricity need coming from renewable. That's an aggressive number, challenging, but doable. I think the diversification strategy Egypt is doing is paying off. We see now the natural gas replaced more of the oil when it comes to the majority for producing electricity, the wind, the solar, the nuclear as well. By the way, there is a pink hydrogen which use the same process getting electricity from the nuclear power station. So we will have
the Russians postponed starting implementation for another 2 years.
Correct.
We're postponing.
Correct.
I don't know
Correct.
where we're going, but anyway.
But I think diversity is important, and we are on the right track when it comes to diversity. Last week and last couple of months, there is a lot of things happening, agreement with big European company to have a blueprint for Egypt for the green hydrogen. His Excellency, the President gave a few days ago an instruction to the cabinet. We need to have a strategy. What is the best solution for us? I think we have an opportunity.
Where?
In Egypt, we will have a renewable at very competitive cost coming from solar and wind, and that will help us to have a competitive price, not now of course, green hydrogen. Egypt was our aim and this position, strategic location.
We started on the green hydrogen, right?
Sorry?
We started on the green hydrogen.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet. Not yet. You have to have the blue hydrogen first, capturing.
The process has started.
The process is as a visibility study to produce the green hydrogen. So, as I mentioned, the green hydrogen, you need electricity from the wind and solar, zero CO2 emission. And with the solar,
we're blessed here.
We are blessed here. Also with the wind, we will have the opportunity to have a competitive green hydrogen, and that will strengthen our position as an energy hub. I think Egypt has the potential to export. What Saudi is doing with the green hydrogen, Egypt will have the opportunity to do the same. Also, UAE is making a plan to upgrade the refinery in Ruwais, but with the blue ammonia, not green yet. So I think Egypt, Saudi, and UAE, when it comes to the Middle East and Africa, and Egypt definitely for Africa, we are leading when it comes to strategy and actual resources for the green hydrogen, starting of course with blue first.
On that note, Dr. Hussein Ghazzawy, energy expert and former CEO of major oil companies, a pleasure having you on the show here tonight. Glad to know that we are on track, and expectations are many, especially since many of our targets are being achieved prior to their target dates, which gives us a lot of hope. Dr. Hussein Ghazzawy, thank you very much. And I take the opportunity to wish you and your family, as well as our dear viewers, a very happy Eid vacation. And we hope that by next year we get an opportunity to be in Mount Arafat for the Hajj.
Inshallah.
At next year, same time.
Inshallah.
Hijri.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for being with us. I'm Ayman Salah. Good night.